Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. The first balance match to Whizbang's workshop is now a few days old and it really changes the meta a lot. In many ways, some of them good and some of them not so good, because Aggro Demon Hunter is the talk of the town. Aggro Demon Hunter was the only top 5 deck that was not nerfed, and I first thought, okay, well, maybe it's going to get countered, but in the first few days it has just been growing stronger and stronger so far. But of course, it's still early, maybe more counters can still be found. There are some potential counters, and I look into them in this video as well. But yeah, Aggro Demon Hunter is very strong. Paladin is now much weaker, Shaman is simply gone, Warrior is still doing okay, despite the nerfs. Druid and Mage actually are now borderline playable. They're not fully dead, they're not fully alive either, but you can actually get above 50% win rates playing Druid and Mage now, which is definitely an improvement over what used to be. Of course, Shaman being completely gone is a bad thing, so I would want there to be decks for every class. But anyway, let's take a look at the top 13 best decks in Hearthstone right now. And coming in at number 13 is Highlander Druid. I also played this list myself and it's a fun deck. I had a great time playing with this deck. I truly enjoyed it. The ticket to fame for Highlander Druid right now is that it seems to have a favorable match against Aggro Demon Hunter. It's like 55%, but of course statistics based on this single deck list, so confidence is fairly low. It could still drop below 50%, but right now there is a chance that Highlander Druid is one of the few decks that can actually fight against Aggro Demon Hunter successfully, and that makes up for its weaknesses against Warlocks and Warriors and Hunters. But hey, if half of the ladder is Aggro Demon Hunter, then this deck just might have a chance. And coming in at number 12 is Rainbow Mage. Rainbow Mage is the only playable mage archetype, but it is back. It's weak against Aggro Demon Hunter though, which is a terrible place to be in, but it's good against some of the other decks like Death Knights and against Wheel Warlock too, which is another fairly popular list, so it has its upsides. The 11th best deck in the game is Sludge Warlock. Sludge Warlock has not seen a lot of innovation during Whizbang's workshop. Chapo Dennis added a pair of Doom cards on day 1, and that's the list that we're still playing. But Sludge Warlock has a bunch of good matchups. Then it's bad against Demon Hunters and Token Hunters, so that's a little bit of a downside, but if you want to play with Sludges, you still can. At number 10 we have this Playhouse Miracle Rogue. I presented this already in the video right before the nerfs, where I put this a little bit higher. The sample size was really small, this was brand new deck, and I said, okay, this looks really promising, but I don't really know yet. Now, a lot more games have been played, and it is a valid deck. It's a deck that can actually climb the ladder. It's not quite as good as it looked on the very first days. And part of the reason is the nerf patch and its weakness against Aggro Demon Hunter, which is so dominant right now that really hurts the deck. But other than that, just playing cards, drawing cards, Gaslight Gatekeepering your hand back into your deck and drawing more cards, and free everything must go, and zero cost Playhouse Giants and copies of those Playhouse Giants, and yeah, that sort of board swarming strategy can still work in this game. Although there is an even newer and slightly more powerful rogue deck, and it's the comeback of Mech Rogue. Although this time the Mech Rogue it's nastier than ever. This Mech Rogue is going to play Ziliax Deluxe, which is going to be in stealth. And then it can magnetize on that Ziliax, and that Ziliax is going to double its attack every turn, and then that Ziliax is going to hit you and then you will die. So yeah, a little bit different than the old Mech Rogue, although that one too had that magnetization plan, make big mechs hit, and now it's just more deluxe version of that plan. Number 8 we have Control Warrior. Control Warrior suffered a nerf because Odin now costs 9 mana instead of 8, but Control Warrior is still a perfectly fine deck. However, there has been some innovation with Warrior since the nerfs and since the rise of Aggro Demon Hunter. This kind of Control Warrior deck, which is the same Control Warrior list that was played before the nerfs, it's fine against Aggro Demon Hunter. It's actually a little bit favored against Aggro Demon Hunter, one of the very few decks that can say that. But it has some weaknesses as well, and some innovation in Warrior has managed to balance out those weaknesses, and I will show you an even better Warrior archetype in just a few moments. But first let's take a look at a contender that is good against warriors and not totally miserable against Aggro Demon Hunter either, and that is the Rainbow Death Knight. Plague Death Knight is a little bit out of favor. Plague Death Knight is still super strong against Highlander decks, but its matchup against Aggro Demon Hunter is so bad that Rainbow Death Knight has surpassed it on the ladder. And Rainbow Death Knight does take some cues from Plague Death Knight because Helia is right there. In ETC there's also Down with the Ship, so you can still put some plagues into the enemy's deck even though you're playing a Rainbow deck. At number 6 we have one of the aggressive newcomers, and that's Zarimi Priest. So how about playing against an aggro priest that plays a bunch of dragons, and then every single turn you have to worry, okay, are they going to time wander Zarimi me and take an extra turn? I have to make sure that they don't have enough stuff on the board so that I would die in 2 turns. Yeah, that's annoying to play against, to say the least, but of course Aggro Demon Hunter does not mind, because Aggro Demon Hunter just kills Zarimi Priest first, but Zarimi Priest is strong against many of these slower decks. Spell Token Hunter was hit with a mild nerf. There was a bit of a stat nerf to Awakening Tremors, and then of course the cost nerf to Ziliax Deluxe, but Spell Token Hunter is still very strong, very aggressive. If there wasn't Aggro Demon Hunter that's really keeping this at bay, this could be a absolutely dominant deck, because it's good against so many opponents. Just flooding the board, jungle gymming, and Patchwork Pals. I love Patchwork Pals. Just being able to choose what animal companions you get to play in each situation. That's so awesome. And yeah, Spell Token Hunter is still a wonderful deck. But I promised you a better warrior list. And after the nerf patch and after the rise of the Aggro Demon Hunter, the warrior list that has become the best warrior deck on the ladder is this one. It's Highlander Warrior. Well, Plague Death Knight is a miserable matchup, but Plague Death Knight suffers so much there are not many Plague Death Knights around. Then there's Wheel Warlock. It's hard to beat Wheel Warlock, okay, well that is a genuine weakness. But you're strong against Aggro Demon Hunters, you win the Control Warrior Mirror. The Highlander variant is stronger than the variant that runs duplicates in the mirror. You also beat stuff like Rainbow Death Knight, which should prey on something a little bit slower like you. But Highlander Warrior is just an incredibly versatile and powerful deck right now, and it is also the strongest counter to Aggro Demon Hunter on the ladder right now. At number 3 we have Wheel Warlock. Wheel Warlock builds have been innovated upon a little bit, and I do love that Dark Alley Pact summoning a big demon and then endgame resurrecting that big demon. Sometimes I have even managed to endgame and resurrect Sargeras. If the enemy happens to kill Sargeras last on some turn, and then you can just endgame to bring Sargeras back, that is just downright hilarious. But obviously Wheel Warlock, so you wheel off that, you remove your deck, and then you have Forge of Wills on the board, and you play a free Phantom, and you turn another 15/15 from Forge, and yeah, that's how you win games. And that is strong enough against almost all opponents, but not against Aggro Demon Hunter. Yeah, Aggro Demon Hunter is just the dominant force in the meta. Aggro Demon Hunter does come in 2 varieties, and for a while it looked like this kind of Highlander Demon Hunter deck that just has answers to all sorts of situations, that has Reno, that has August, that has Gunslinger Curtius, could be a proper challenger. And it kind of is, but it's still only the number 2 deck on the ladder right now. And it's not even a real Highlander deck, because you run 2 copies of Window Shopper and you run 2 copies of Umpire's Grasp, because your main win condition is still the same as Aggro Demon Hunters. Let's get a Window Shopper. Let's discount that with the weapon. Let's play the discounted Window Shopper, and the discount is also inherited by the card discovered by Window Shopper. Then you can also play that one for cheap, and then when you discover some Macteridons, 27% chance each time you discover something with Window Shopper. And yeah, then just blast away. So you keep full consistency on this most important package, because you run both of those cards in 2 copies, and if you find Umpire's Grasp is going to draw the Window Shopper as a death rattle. So if you find an Umpire's Grasp, then your deck is singleton deck again. So that's just tremendously good in that respect, but it's a little bit slower than Aggro Demon Hunter, and it looks like being faster is just better. So despite all the fun tricks that you can pull off playing the Highlander variant, the strongest deck on the ladder is Aggro Demon Hunter with duplicates, just being even more aggressive and still discovering stuff from Window Shopper and winning the game. And yeah, that's it. That's the meta right now. I'm still expecting that maybe something can be found against Aggro Demon Hunter. Right now, Highlander Warrior is the best counter. Regular Counter Warrior is fine against this. Highlander Druid seems to be fine against this. And nothing else really is. Like Rainbow Death Knight gets around 50-50, so that's one of the strongest counters when it's not clearly unfavored. And every other deck on the ladder is unfavored against Aggro Demon Hunter at the moment. But maybe something can still be found out, or then another balance patch will come later on to save the day. So the balance patch had some good effects and some bad effects. Good effect being that something like Druid and Mage are now slightly more playable, and bad effect that they missed this Demon Hunter deck, and yeah, it's just rolling over most things on the ladder right now. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.